Mr. Collins for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity for us to again condemn white nationalism. It's an opportunity that's unfortunate, but it is not unimportant in this hearing. This ideology lies in an immeasurable yet equal value of every person. We saw those lies take root in the attacker who murdered Heather Heyer and injured others in Charlottesville. The attacker's medical record shows he was ill, his mind was sick, but his heart was sick as well. I join every American who denounces hatred and violence wholesale. My Republican colleagues unanimously supported the resolution rejecting white nationalism and white supremacy this January, and we took action when the words of one of our colleagues ran counter to our values. American values share nothing ideologically with white nationalism. Nothing white supremacists claim resonate with any of us here today, and I appreciate the chance to consider how to combat the violence associated with this terrible ideology. Too often, we have seen white nationalism and other notions of racial, ethnic, and cultural superiority end in violence, both at the individual and national level. Hatred and racial superiority continue to play out in Western China, where the Uyghurs are being detained in re-education camps and killed, and it has run rampant in Iraq, where ISIS fighters have murdered and enslaved thousands of Yazidis. Over and over again, history has warned us racism and hate mobilize people for violence and oppression. Why haven't we learned these lessons? Why haven't we hewed more closely to the ideal that all men are created equal and other bedrock principles of our nation? The practical problem is our hearts run quickly to hate. We hunt for and embrace any data suggesting we are better than our neighbors. Are we more talented? Are we better looking? Are we more enlightened? Most importantly, do we have friends who agree our in-group is superior to an out-group? We remember today, hate always makes its nest in pridefulness. So when we examine the foundations of white supremacy, we realize the primary difference between white nationalist violence in America and ethnic cleansing or communist internment camps is scale, not substance. I think people with political campaign experience have witnessed firsthand how quickly people's hearts become hate factories. With that in mind, I hope we will use this hearing to pursue softer hearts and intellectual integrity. And with that, I am glad to have our witnesses here who will share their values, just as I am glad to have all the Democratic witnesses here to share from their heart. And I think that's what makes us better people without distractions of the headlines and the banners. With that in mind, as we move forward, I worry that the true motivation for this hearing is to suggest that Republicans are hateful and dishonest and somehow connected to those characters who truly spew hatred and act on it in the public square. As we all know, however, House Republicans led the chamber's unequivocal rejection of white nationalism. To those who say we could have been clearer sooner, I hear you. We can't afford to let racial hatred build a home in our nation's capital, which is why it is also so unfortunate the rise that has seemingly taken fruit lately of anti-Semitism in this same body. When we're holding this hearing, it is interesting to note that white nationalism traffics in anti-Semitism. We also know that anti-Semitic violence has extinguished countless lives. What I don't know is why the tolerance for Jewish stereotypes has been spilling over in the members in this body. Moreover, I don't know why it is from the majority finds it so hard to condemn such hateful language. According to the Anti-Defamation League, the anti-Semitic violence has increased 57% in 2017. So I hope that my friends will use this hearing to outline their plan to condemn anti-Semitism, along with the cornerstone, which is a cornerstone of the white nationalist ideology in this House. People of every ethnic and religious background come to America because our republic affords them the liberty and safety unavailable in many corners of the globe. This country is committed to free thought, free expression, free press, and a blind justice system. These very things that foster diversity and deter intellectual bankrupt ideologies like white nationalism. When the marketplace of ideas remains wide open, it's easy to comparison shop, to identify and reject hollow, hateful worldviews. When justice is swift and blind, violence and abuse will not pay off. When power is shared among all citizens, authorities are less likely to oppress the people they're meant to serve. In contrast, governments that attempt to restrain people's hearts and minds for whatever reason pave the way to oppression and political violence. Americans have always understood these dynamics. Sadly, identity politics has divided us, and we have forgotten our core political identity. Americans fundamentally recognize each of us have endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights and is individual responsible for their actions. In other words, our unity as a nation depends not on ethnic uniformity, but on our equality as citizens. White nationalism denies this, and I sit here today rejecting hate and violence of any kind. With that, I yield back.